In the name of all of us, let there be war. So lay down the arms, lay down the guns, lay down. Time is come.
After a painful relationship, he literally turned his back and left everything and started walking. And the Lord provided for him. It was a walk of faith, and it still is a walk of faith. And just as Bruce said, you know, we have so many stories of how the Lord provides, I can testify to that as well. The song, Bruce, that you sang, One Night of Peace, when you were singing that song was played on September 21st, not this year, but last year, in southern Sudan on International Day of Peace. How did we get into Sudan? It's very difficult, especially if you're an American and you're supposedly walking for peace. But the Lord opened the doors, and we ended up in Sudan. The government of Southern Sudan, which is a provisional government, they didn't have any national holidays. So when Danny showed up, they said, great, we should have our first national holiday, the International Day of Peace. And they allowed us to have the ceremony, to present the peace pole, to play One Night of Peace, and to deposit the love of God into their lives. So I have the honor to introduce my husband, Danny, who is from Spanish Harlem, right here in New York City. He was raised Catholic, and so it's an honor to be in a Catholic church and one as beautiful as this. Former police officer, served in Vietnam, is no stranger to the tools of violence. But somewhere along the line, when he did have his life-changing event, and the Lord literally changed him, as Apostle Paul, as he was walking on the road to Damascus, it changed his life. he became a different person. He became someone who shares the love of God. He became someone who believed what this word of God says and walks in it every day. He is a man of faith, he's a man of principle, and he's a man of peace. But he is also, but more importantly, he is a servant of God. So, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my husband, Danny Garcia.
God is so good. I don't have a script. I never have a script. I'm just gonna have to speak to you from my heart. That's okay. I can take no credit for anything. It's only by His grace that I've been saved and that I'm here. Father, I would really like to say thank you for opening your door. It's really interesting how God knows what He's doing. And I feel like I've come full circle back into the Catholic Church after being way out there and being lost. The Word says that we don't look for signs and wonders, but signs and wonders follow the believer. So today is a great opportunity for me to say thank you, God. Thank you, because there's places that I've been where you cannot say Jesus. They'll put you in jail or they'll kill you. I've walked in some of those countries. I've walked, I think, for everybody. I've walked for people who are of the Catholic faith, Protestant faith, Jewish faith. I mean, I've walked for Muslims in the Middle East, and I've walked just trying to give them love, not looking for anything in return, and doing it by faith and hoping that I would be able to get in, but also by His love, by the love of Christ. I want to tell you the truth. When I tell you the truth, you're going to see that, this guy, just an ordinary guy. At a very young age, at 17, 18, I was involved in the Cuban crisis as a Marine. I spent 10 years in the Marine Corps, and I served during the Vietnam era, and so I was, there are Marines that love God, but sometimes we drink, sometimes we go out and party, sometimes we goof around and do things that we shouldn't do. That's what I did. And so I was lost. For 25 years, I had no relationship with God or with the church. At that time, even after I got out of the Marines and I went into law enforcement, I was also producing concerts, large concerts. I was involved with Woodstock, and I was involved with drugs. I was not foreign to the usage of marijuana or cocaine or amphetamines. I think the only thing I really didn't do was heroin. I was lost. But one night, without me planning it, in my living room, I felt something happen to me and I could not control it, and I felt I was dying from whatever I had taken, and I felt my spirit was leaving my body and I was checking out. At that moment, going to Catholic school briefly came into mind, but even more so, Jesus came into my mind. It was just a moment. And I heard a voice, and the voice said, "Which way do you choose, life or death? You must choose now." And when I was so scared and I knew that I was going to go to hell at that moment, I screamed, "Jesus, save me." I didn't say it twice. I just screamed, "Jesus, save me." And my spirit jumped back into my body. And my girlfriend had called the paramedics. They came. They took me to the hospital. They shot me up with all kinds of things. And I was a vegetable for 1 year. I remember that whatever the doctors were trying to do, it wasn't working. And I remember that I needed help because I was about to commit suicide. And I remember that I went to a Catholic church, happened to be a Catholic church that I went to, and I was going and I was holding on to the pews with my fingers in fear that I was going to die and go to hell. And I remember when I reached a point that I needed help, there were a group of charismatics in a Catholic church that I went to, and they prayed over me and they laid hands on me, and whatever spirit or whatever was on me left. And I was healed. And I never had a desire to participate or use any kind of drugs. I was 33 years old, I believe, and that was the change of my whole new life. To go to prayer meetings, to go to church, to pray, to talk to God, to speak to people with love instead of with anger. I was going through a change. I was not the same person anymore. And then I continued in that walk. And in December of 1996, actually in May of 96, my wife, who I was married to, said, "I've had enough. This is not for me, what you're going through, or what you're doing. I want a divorce, and I'm going to get a divorce." She left me, and my whole life had ended. I was dead. I was dead. And I didn't care to live any longer, because I was in my early 50s at that time. And I said, well, I'm just going to go to San Francisco, and I'm going to walk from San Francisco to San Diego, and I'm just going to give up everything. My wife can have everything that she's taking care of. And I started walking from San Francisco to San Diego with $41 in my pocket. That's how I started walking. And I remember that first day, I walked 50 miles and it rained all day and all night. I was soaking wet. And when I checked into a hotel, I had no money. And I called a friend of mine who owned Harley Davidson, and he wanted to take care of it. But after listening to my story, the general manager of the hotel said, no problem. You can stay here free. From that day till today, God has taken care of me. I've not had to, during this walk, had to be concerned about any money at all. If I had a little bit, people in other countries such as Ireland would not allow me to spend any money. My money was no good. As I started to experience this walk and experience more so the relationship of walking with God, of walking with the Holy Spirit, and letting Him take over. And not do my will, but let me do His will. That Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. When I allowed God to be God, well, He created the world. He owns everything. Miracles. I have walked 40, 50 miles a day. There's only two people that I know that have walked 50 miles a day. One's a Royal Dutch Marine in the Netherlands, and one is one from London, England. They don't ever want to talk to me again. It was very painful. When you walk, you go through pain. It hurts. The walk to me is only an introduction to meet the people that God has for me. You see how many people are here in the church? It's not about numbers. Because this walk from DC to New York was not about media. It really wasn't. I've been on CNN, I've been on BBC, I've been on Reuters, I've been on ABC, CBS, NBC. I've had 20,000 people walk with me in Iraq. I've had 15,000 in Jordan. I've had thousands upon thousands waiting on the roads to meet me and for me to pray with them. I really just wanted to come here today, and I really wanted to do this walk, and I really wanted to just thank God. I wanted to thank all the people who've been a part of my life that He's given me, and I wanted to ask them to bless them. I'm going to call your name out. I'd like you to stand up just for a moment. Monica Willard, would you stand up, please? There were times when it was dangerous, and you could say I was alone, and how I was abducted in the Palestinian area of Rafah, held as hostage. There were no Americans out there, but there were always times when I had the opportunity to email Monica. And by the way, Monica works with many special projects within the UN. So there was an opportunity for Monica to pray. And she's always been supportive. She's always been there for me. She lives in Bethlehem, and when I'm going through there, it's a place to stay. Her and her husband and her family, they love me, and I know that. Thank you, Monica, and thank you for your gifts. Bruce Foster, would you stand, please? Bruce, everybody here is modest. They don't talk about themselves, so if I don't say anything, you're not going to really know who they are. Bruce Foster is a Grammy Award nominee. He is like he mentioned, Richie Sambora, who's with Bon Jovi. So he's been with many, many people. He's written songs for Cher and lives in New Jersey. He had a gig, he had a concert to do, and he rescheduled it so that he can be here. He's been with me in Australia when we've done One Night of Peace when the Olympics were going on. Very special man of heart, a man of love. Thank you, Bruce. I want to... Deborah, would you stand? You haven't met Deborah yet. She's going to sing a song, which will be our closing song. And Deborah is with, I'm going to give you something, which is the stick that has to go, which is the other half. World Peace Prayer Sanctuary. It's the World Peace Prayer Society. Deborah is with the World Peace Prayer Society here in New York. Many special projects for the United Nations. Very busy lady. And this is the peace pole that they and the World Peace Sanctuary have given me. And what we did was we had cut in half so that I could carry this message of may peace prevail on earth. Very special people. Deborah and Monica have always worked very close together, and she's always been there. And I want to ask you to keep your prayers